It's not game time, it's party time. Because if you're in the greater Dallas-Fort Worth area, there is only one thing to talk about, and it's not the Texas Rangers, Dallas Mavericks, or TCU Horned Frogs. It is the Dallas Cowboys. Please put down those stupid fingers, sir. They lost in Arkansas. Arkansas. They lost in Arkansas. Okay?
I'm sorry.
Arkansas.
I thought it was Texas OU week. I'm sorry.
Fort Worth Star Telegram sports columnist. I am Mac Engel. He's Bevo. Mr. Clarence E. Hill Jr., Cowboys savant. Clarence, it's been a great week for the Cowboys as the train of fun continues. They are 3-1 after a blowout, closer-ish, not really win over Matt Rule, Sam Darnold, and the Carolina Panthers on Sunday at AT&T Stadium. There is only one undefeated team left in the NFL. It's not the Cowboys. It's the Arizona Cardinals. But the Cowboys are the second-best team record-wise in the NFL, tied with a bunch of other teams at 3-1. And now they host our good friend Jason Garrett, Daniel Jones, and the New York Giants Sunday at AT&T Stadium at 3:30 p.m. But this game, there is one storyline and one storyline alone. It is not Mike McCarthy. It's not Jason Garrett. It is Dak Prescott's surgically repaired right ankle, which appears to be intact. And Dak is not only back, but better than ever. Give you credit. You called it. And one day, Clarence, I'm going to get you on all the other stupid predictions that you've made and missed. But this one you nailed.
I don't miss, sir.
Yeah, Dak looks fantastic. He threw 4 touchdown passes in a maddeningly efficient win over the Panthers. But it is almost 1 year to the day where we thought we might have seen the very best or potentially even the end of Dak Prescott when he suffered a devastating fractured right ankle in that win against the Giants 1 year ago to the day. You made a bold prediction back then that he'd come back better than ever. So I'm going to let you take the floor and run with this here on Overtime on StarTelegram.com. Tell us how you called it because you nailed it.
Now, before I talk, let's let Dak talk. Let's hear from Dak Prescott on his return and playing the Giants on Sunday.
That's all y'all going to be talking about. Is going to be in my head. I'm not going to say be naive and not think and say I'm not going to think about it. But I think just more than anything, it'll just be gratitude and just thinking about how much of a blessing the last 365 days or 64 days have been of going through that and overcoming that and becoming, as I continue to say, a better person and a better player. I'm excited for it. I'm excited just to get back out there, and it's another game to me. I mean, whether the injury happened against them last year at home or not, that's something that I think every pregame, every game I think about, just because of how blessed I am just to be back out here doing what I love. So whether it's a year from it now or in a couple of years, 5 years from it now, I'm not going to say I don't think about it because that's part of who I am.
And that's
Clarence,
just –
hang on, Clarence, real quick. Do you believe him when he said that this game against the Giants, because it is almost a year of the day, it's the same opponent, same stadium. Do you think this is just another game to him?
I don't think it's just another game because I don't think anything is just another game to him. And Dak has always been intentional about being appreciative of this opportunity. You know, he talked about, his rookie year, it was about his mom. And every game he points to the sky of his mom. She passed away when he was a junior in college of cancer. And certainly the things he's gone through, he's talked, to us all season about, obviously practicing for the first time in training camp. He was intentional about that, being appreciative about that after everything he's gone through. Just think about what he's gone through last year. And we talk about the fractured ankle, and the devastation of that. But you had the contract mess and all the other stuff and having to fight for his contract when he was just as good as other guys who already got paid. But yet he had to fight because he was a 4th-round pick. And a guy that the Cowboys didn't want in 2016. They tried to trade him for 2 other guys. So I always had to fight for what was his and what he would deserve, but he never let it deter him from working and being focused. And then we talked about what everybody knows about his battle with depression and also losing his brother to suicide. All those things all come to mind to him when he thinks about what he has now and what he's done and what he's gone through. And so he's appreciative. So I think that the Tampa Bay game was important to him. Last week's first home game, at AT&T Stadium against the Eagles, that was important to him. But that was the first game back at AT&T Stadium since the injury. And so, yes, this game is going to be important to him as well because it was the team he was injured against. But that's who Dak is, and that's always why, if you watched him go through this process, I was amazed in May when I saw him walking without the boot. And I remember when he signed the contract and he jumped on the stage after 2 surgeries, and he, every step of the way, he's surpassed expectations. And so just seeing him in minicamp and seeing him at training camp, you knew that the ankle was not going to be a problem. And then knowing how he works and the leadership and his approach, you knew he was intentional about that time away from the game, getting a better understanding of the offense. And it's not just physically. What's the most impressive about Dak this year? We get caught up in the physical, in the arm and ankle, but it's his mind. It's how he's controlling the game with the line of scrimmage. It's the calling the plays at the line of scrimmage. Checking from passes to runs. Seeing things. Last week against Carolina at halftime, it was Dak who made some adjustments with Kellen Moore that opened up that big barrage in the third quarter. As you saw him throw 2 touchdown passes and blow that game open. It's how he sees the game that's also special.
I was just going to ask you, what he was doing better today than he had been doing previously, because we've seen him in his time here. He's had special runs, big passing games, efficient passing games, winning streaks, that rookie season where they went on that big, long winning streak. But he's doing something now that I hadn't seen him do previously. And it wasn't that we didn't know he was capable of doing it. He just hadn't done it. And now, like you said, he's doing things at the line of scrimmage and doing things mentally that I think if you're another team should scare you, because there's really no way to defend a quarterback who sees it all ahead of him and knows what you're going to do. There's not many guys in the league who can do it. And I'm not going to sit here and say it's Drew Brees or it's Peyton Manning or Tom Brady, guys who were
Matt Rule did it. Matt Rule did it.
Yeah, Matt Rule did it. But I didn't know if that was just coach speak. But certainly the way Dak Prescott is playing now, he's pushing his way into that discussion of guys at the line of scrimmage and in game preparation who just can do and see things that not everybody else can, and his body allows him to do it. All right, let's move on to another subject, and that is the running game. And,
hold on. Another subject I was right about. Let's just go there.
Clarence, let's just go back. No, that's right. Okay. Clarence, you're like Jerry Jones. Every year, they're going for it. They're going to win the Super Bowl. I've been around here for 20 years. Yes, you do. Every year, this is going to be a special group.
Not true.
Okay.
No,
lies.
Let's just go back. Let's just go back to week 1. After week one, when you were trying to trade Ezekiel Elliott, they're a pass happy team. They're not going to run the ball.
58 passes. I said this. Stop talking. Okay, you're going to make yourself look dumb.
I told you to be patient.
Quit talking.
It's a
lot of noise. No one wants to hear it. And I said, if you're going to use Zeke Elliott like this, then trade him. Well, they're obviously not using him like that. He and Tony Pollard are having a really great stretch of games here. Zeke Elliott is, the Dallas Cowboys are second in the NFL in rushing. Zeke Elliott looks terrific. Tony Pollard looks terrific. Even though they don't have Lyle Collins back yet from his hey, would you take $50 here to not report the fact that I didn't show up for my drug test suspension? They're playing behind Terrence Steele, who's done a really nice job. Clarence, in your mind, is Zeke Elliott the same as he was 3 years ago when he was maybe the best running back in the league? I think he is right now.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to his agent last night, and he said, yeah, he's doing some things. He's more explosive. The thing about that you saw, he talked about in offseason was being lighter. Okay, it allows him to be quicker. Certainly, we didn't see it early on, but you certainly saw it against Carolina. That 41-yard run he had against, or I think it was 47-yard run he had against Carolina was his longest run since his rookie year. Longer than 2017, 18, 19, and 20. That's the longest run since his rookie year. That's one thing that we have been talking about it and been dinging him on is, well, where's the explosive plays? Where's the big plays? We see the dirty runs. We see the hard runs. We don't see the big plays. And people also don't respect his vision. You watch some of the plays, and yes, the offensive line is great, but the way he sees the hole and gets through the hole, it was special tonight. He put up a clinic against Carolina. And that was vintage Zeke. And again, and Zeke talked about it, and Tony talked, the Cowboys talked about it. They don't have to give him 30 carries. Yes, I think he's as good as he was as a rookie, but they're not going to ride him like that because it is a long season, the 17-game season. You are getting a lot out of Tony Pollard. Use them both. It should not be an either or. Use them both, maximize them both, because it's going to be a long season.
After the game on Sunday, I asked Mike McCarthy if he felt like everything was kind of working. And he said, no, it's not. And obviously it's not. You're never going to be perfect. No team is. But it's clear now the Cowboys are in that kind of window where they're complimenting each other. Clarence, what'd you do there? Did you break something? Did you calls it correctly? I know, I'm kidding.
I'm sorry.
No, it's not your fault. So they're in that window where everything just seems to be complementing each other really, really well. The offensive line's playing well, quarterback's hitting his receivers, the receivers are running around, and now the defense is contributing turnovers at a rate that we have not seen around here. God, I don't know, ever. Trayvon Diggs is intercepting every pass that's thrown. He's up to 5 in 4 games. You're comparing, I shouldn't say that. You've said he's their best cornerback since Deion Sanders. I don't know who would be any better. Certainly not has ever had a stretch of games like this. Terrence Newman was really, really good. Mike Jenkins had a good stretch there for a very short amount of time. And Byron Jones was okay, but nothing like this. And Clarence, they're doing all this without Tank Lawrence. Did you think that they would be able to do what they're doing up front without Tank Lawrence? I didn't.
Yeah, and that's the amazing thing about what they're doing, because and that's what Mike McCarthy talked about. Yeah, we're excited about 3-1, but we know it can be better. Every player, you got players coming back. The cavalry is still on their way in Tank Lawrence and Leo Collins. You played the last 2 games without Keen O'Neal, their top free agent signee, who at linebacker. So you got the cavalry coming. Then you got your second round pick coming. You got Tristan Hill coming. You got help on the way, and you're playing this well. So that means that you can get better, and that's what they're excited about. But yeah, the defense in past years, if you would have told me the Cowboys would be playing without Tank Lawrence, and then playing without Dorrance Armstrong, playing without Randy Gregory, playing without this guy and that guy, and put up these type of numbers, that's a credit to the front office and the depth they built. But it's also a credit to Dan Quinn and knowing how to use his guys and moving his guys and keeping them all on the same page and playing for each other. In the past, the Cowboys would not have moved Micah Parsons defensive end. They just said, Micah Parsons, you're a linebacker. We're going to be rigid. We're going to play you at linebacker. But Dan Quinn uses his players' talents and puts them in the best position to help the team. And that's what they're doing. So give them credit, give the credit to the players, the front office, the coaching staff, for them to be able to do this, what they're doing, and play them where they're playing without some of their top guys.
Randy Gregory has been in the NFL what feels like 87 years. And he's been suspended more than he's actually started. He served for a while there. He had more NFL season-long suspensions than he did NFL starts. And when he played on Sunday, there was I thought for a moment, I don't know if I've ever seen him play any better with the Cowboys. Now, I'm sure when he was in Nebraska, he had some games. But Clarence, what do you think he has to do to necessarily quell any concerns or fears that he can keep this together? Forget the injury. Injuries happen, and he's dealt with those. But I'm talking about the other stuff, that they can count on him to be an opposite end pass rusher. So when the Tank Lawrence is out, you're not just holding your breath. And not that Randy Gregory's going to play, but that he can be counted on and reliable to be there on Sunday.
Well, I think he's showing that. He showed that the last couple of years, and it also helps that the NFL have changed their rules, and it's not a punitive. If you do what you're supposed to do, you go to your meetings, you take your tests, they're not suspending you. There's more humanity in the substance abuse policy. He has been very open about the things he struggled with, and some of the things he struggled with, he's need to use marijuana to help him with that. He grew up with anxiety. He has all the other stuff. So, it's not as punitive. You're not a bad guy because you do things to try to help yourself cope with things that you can't cope with, unlike just shooting yourself up with opioids, which the NFL wants you to do. I mean, we can have a whole conversation about that. But the bottom line is, he looks like, DeMarcus Lawrence. He looks like that 94. I mean,
he does.
That game, brother, he was ragdolling people and having some great sacks and an impact player. Again, you see what he's doing and what he can do. This is what the Cowboys thought he could do, when he came out of Nebraska. Certainly dropped in the draft because of those injuries, because of those issues, but they knew he had this type of ability. He's bigger, stronger, and faster, but he's also more mature. I talked to him last week because we've had some tete-a-tetes, and he said, man, I'm mature. I've let a lot of this stuff go. I've grown, and he just has a different perspective on things. And so I think that's why you can trust him.
I like the guy a lot, and I think if you spend 5-10 minutes with him,
intelligent.
He's a bright guy. He's a bright guy.
Yes.
He's engaging. He's charming. Yes. I think he's a guy, if he's in the right spot whenever football's done. I don't know when that'll be, but let's say he's able to play 5-7 more years. I think he'll have a nice life, and he's put himself in that position. And you know what? Credit to the Cowboys. They've done this a lot, and it doesn't always work. But right now, it's certainly trending up.
Yeah. And one other thing, and the thing about Randy is, his issue, unlike other guys, there was not necessarily jurisprudence. He was the
Yeah.
biggest danger to himself. He wasn't out there in the streets, getting DUIs. He wasn't,
Yeah.
having domestic issues. People want to compare it to Greg Hardy and all that. He was never a bad guy.
Correct.
His biggest person he hurt was himself because he took himself off the field. So the Cowboys had reason to believe in him and stand by him. They weren't standing by a bad guy. They were standing by a good guy who has some issues.
Absolutely. Dallas Cowboys on Sunday will host the New York Giants, which are a pathetic 1-3. The Cowboys are 7-point favorites. It's the late game because it's Dallas and New York. So that means it's a 3:30 kick. Clarence, Jason Garrett is in his second season as the offensive coordinator with quarterback Daniel Jones. The Giants look bad. They had a 1-point loss against a bad Washington team. They had a 3-point loss against an average to bad Atlanta team. And then they come back last week rather. And then they go on the road and beat the Saints in New Orleans. So I think this team is deceiving. Cowboys should win it. But my prediction is the Cowboys will win, but they ain't covering a 7-point spread against this team on Sunday.
I mean, just win, baby. Just win. They just
No. Give the people some help.
Yeah, just
you're
win,
an expert.
baby. Just win, baby. Just win. First of all, I would have you know this: the Cowboys have covered the spread in every game this season.
Good teams win. Great teams cover.
They've been a lead pipe cinch lock, starting with the opener. And if you bet the Cowboys every game this season, you went to the bank in cash. Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. Why would that be different against this average Giants team with Jason Garrett calling plays? Kellen Moore is putting a clown suit around Jason Garrett as a play caller. Clown suit, I tell you.
Clown suit. Okay, we'll move on to one more predictions, and then we'll wrap up this latest episode of Overtime here on StarTelegram.com. Clarence, I have crushed it on fantasy picks here. I don't want to sit here and toot my own horn, but I've been amazing on picks. Again, I don't want to sit here and tell everybody how great I am, but I have absolutely owned fantasy advice for people following it here concerning the Cowboys game and then their opponent. I'm here to tell you right now, listen to your Uncle Mac. Don't listen to that fool over there. Pick the kicker. Go with Greg Zuerlein. I gave you last week a tight end, and you absolutely railroaded me. I'm still so bitter about that because my guy, you're like, go with Dalton Schultz. And then Blake Jarwin scored the touchdown, and Dalton Schultz couldn't keep the ball in his hands, even though they didn't give him a fumble.
Didn't Dalton score a touchdown?
Yeah, they did, but if the fumble thing concerned me. Anyways, you said it.
As far as fantasy points, Dalton scored the same amount as Blake Jarwin.
Okay,
But I gave you Dak Prescott. He scored
4 TD passes. That was pretty good. 4 baby. That's big. That's big cash money right there. I'm thinking the Cowboys are going to have a nice scoring day, but for some reason, I just have it in my head. They're going to have to do. You have to use Greg Zuerlein a little bit more. So if you're in need of a kicker, you kind of have to move some guys around. Don't be afraid to go with Greg Zuerlein because some of the other picks are just so obvious. Like I don't know, the quarterback. Good one, Clarence. So I'm going to give you this one. If you need a kicker, go with Greg Zuerlein. Clarence, the floor is yours.
Okay, I'm gonna do like you. I'm gonna change it up since everybody's all hot and bothered about Zeke, and Zeke's great, and Zeke's like 2016 Zeke. I'm going with Tony Pollard.
All right,
it's gonna be a Tony Pollard game.
That's
Tony Pollard's gonna break one on you and get a couple of touchdowns. So
all right,
Tony Pollard.
We got long touchdown runs by Clarence Hill for Mr. Tony Pollard. And here's the best part. I wrote little notes, and you can't see it. My first pick was Tony Pollard, and I struck him out, and I went with Greg Zuerlein. So we didn't even coordinate that.
So now you want credit
No,
for
I'm
my
not
pick.
going to. Hey, I went with my guy. I'm not going to. I went with Zuerlein. I'm probably kicking myself. One last quick pick before we let you go. Clarence, this is a rather large game on Saturday at the Fair Park. Oklahoma plays the University of Texas Austin in a football game before I probably destroy a bunch of corn dogs. We don't need to get into that. Steve Sarkisian has fixed the University of Texas. There's no bigger UT homer in the greater Dallas-Fort Worth area. Clarence, I'm saying UT wins because I think Oklahoma is pretty overrated right now. Please don't prove me wrong, UT. What's your pick for the Red River Shootout? I call it a shootout.
I am predicting Texas to win, and I'm going to tease a little bit because I'm doing a story on Charles Thompson, the OU legend who went from Sooner Red to Burn Orange. He's the father of of Casey Thompson, the Texas quarterback, the wonderkin quarterback who's undefeated as a Texas quarterback. It's really the reason why they're going to this game hot and ready to go. But
No, the reason why they're going to that game hot is Bijan Robinson. Bijan Robinson. The end.
Okay.
Why Tom Herman ever had that kid on the bench is the reason they should have fired him.
Bijan Robinson is the best player running back in college football. But Charles Thompson will be in the Star Telegram this week.
Looking forward to it. Clarence, this is always a lot of fun. Make sure for all of your Dallas Cowboys needs to check us out on StarTelegram.com. Cowboys Giants Sunday at AT&T Stadium. We'll see you on Dallas Cowboys Overtime next week.